Let's talk about something else that's had a huge impact this week. This is a data breach at Equifax, one of the three major consumer credit reporting agencies. And that always sends me scurrying to my cybersecurity expert to get his take on things. Shawn Tuma is on the Newsmakers line this afternoon. Shawn, thank you very much for joining me on this critical topic.
You're very welcome. I appreciate having the opportunity to join you.
So, Shawn, just give me your overview. What has gone on with Equifax and how big is this hack?
Well, what has gone on is Equifax, which is known for being a credit protection, credit monitoring type company, had a website attack, a cyber attack, where the hackers were able to find some kind of weakness in their website, use that as an entry point to get into their overall network and obtain what we know are 209,000 credit card numbers for U.S. citizens and 182,000 dispute documents for U.S. consumers. And then beyond that, they said there are up to 143 million Americans that could have been impacted by this, but they were not any more specific on that.
So, yeah, tell me a little bit about who these people would be. Is this anybody that's accessed a credit report over the last few years?
It could be, or not necessarily accessed, because, we don't have to ask Equifax to have our information. They have our information as part of their business, whether we ask them to or not. And so our information's in their database, and, it can be there involuntarily in many cases.
Absolutely. So as you were describing this, Shawn, and you and I have talked in the past, and you said, look, it looks like these hackers found a weakness. Are companies like Equifax just being attacked continually by programs that are probing their weaknesses?
Absolutely. Look, I'm not going to be the guy to sit here and say Equifax had poor security and this, that, and the other.
Right.
I think Equifax had great security. But I think Equifax is a company that has an incredible amount of very valuable data, which means, like you just said, they are persistently under attack. And, in security, you have to be right 100% of the time.
Right.
An attacker only needs one lucky shot. And so that's how these things happen, and we have to, as companies, understand that it is a continuous battle out there, and this has to be a very top priority within all businesses these days to protect their data.
And I would imagine, Shawn, that what happens here is as you were alluding to here, that you can protect yourself against a certain type of attack, but hackers are trying different attacks and creating different attacks all the time, correct?
Absolutely. Look, they learned from Sun Tzu about warfare. Always modify your attacks and your approaches and evolve and attack from different angles so that it's unsuspecting. And that's what we've seen over the last several years is what hackers are using as their attack methods today will change, next month, next year. That's why cybersecurity is not a destination. It's a journey. You have to be engaged in that process on a continuous basis, and it's never going to stop.
So let me ask you, Shawn, what are some of the key principles that you're telling people they need to follow? You're telling companies that they need to follow as well in trying to stay ahead of the hackers.
One of the first things they have to do is they have to assess who they are and what they have and where it is. Who's the company? What type of business are they in? What type of data do they have? Where is that data? What jurisdictions are they in? What are the legal rules governing how they have to do these things? And then they have to have a risk management program in place. Look, cybersecurity is not an IT issue anymore. It's now a full-blown business risk issue, and they need a full-blown cyber risk management program in place that's tailored to their company, that has things starting with employee training, policies and procedures, eliminating a lot of that human error, because that's where most of these breaches come from. It's not really sophisticated stuff. Usually it's employee error or weaknesses through accidents, that allow the attackers to get in. And then we escalate that with, making sure you have a good patch management program, making sure you have good, strong firewalls in place, intrusion detection, intrusion prevention. And if a company can't do all of these things and a whole lot more, they need to outsource it to a professional managed service provider that can devote the attention to it that it needs. And artificial intelligence is the next step, and I think you alluded to that earlier. Mm-hmm. Having machines and programs constantly probing these sites, looking for vulnerabilities. Well, the way we combat that is through artificial intelligence and using some of those applications to get a little quicker and smarter than just what we humans can do.
Shawn, let me quote Pamela Dixon, who's from the World Privacy Forum. She says, if you have a credit report, chances are you may be in this breach. The chances are much better than 50%. So let's turn to the consumer. Do I assume I've been hacked here and should take some action? Do I wait for Equifax to contact me? What's the next step for the consumer?
Yeah, I agree with her 100%. You should assume you have been affected by this. And Equifax has set up a website. It's called EquifaxSecurity2017.com. And you can go there, and there's a portal where you can check and see if you have been impacted by this directly. And they're also offering a year of free credit monitoring service. Now, what's interesting is, I'm an attorney who handles these kind of breaches for companies, and I write a lot of these letters and notices. And one of the products we've used for some is an Equifax product to give credit monitoring and credit protection. And so that's created quite a conundrum now for many. But Equifax is offering this product for free, and people can enroll in it. But I also want them to know there's a lot of other good products out there as well if they want some sort of credit protection and they don't want to use an Equifax product in this situation, or they don't want to agree to their terms of service, which may limit their right to bring a lawsuit or be part of a class action. And there's some confusion over that right now. But, there's other good products out there that people could turn to and get that kind of protection as well without having to go through the Equifax product.
Well, I appreciate that. And Shawn, what I hear you saying is we do have to be proactive. We have to check whether or not we've been affected about this, since the chances are more than 50% than we have been.
Absolutely. Look, gone are the days where we can sit back and pretend we're not in a cyber world. We are. Our information's out there, and we have to be vigilant in trying to protect it on the front end and then monitoring it on the back end just to see, where it is, how it's being used, looking at our credit reports, looking at our bank accounts and monitoring those transactions, and just keeping an eye out. I recommend setting up Google Alerts for yourself just to see what's happening around the world with your name, because you never know what you might find.
Yeah, that's really true. We just put your name in quotes, and I agree with you, and then get Google alerts and find out what is happening. I think that's a great piece of practical advice. That's cybersecurity expert Shawn Tuma. Shawn, it is always a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for your insight on this important topic.
You are very welcome. Thank you.
We talked about this a bit yesterday, but Equifax, the credit agency, if you will, says a breach to their systems exposed Social Security numbers and other critical data for more than 140 million Americans. The Atlanta-based company admitting yesterday that criminals exploited a U.S. website application to access files between mid-May and July of this year, consumers' names, Social Security numbers, birth dates, addresses, and in some cases, even driver's license numbers. What else do you need to steal? What else do you need? I mean, and how many times we have to hear this? How many times we have to hear about these big companies, be it Target or Equifax or you pick it. You've heard lots of them. Shawn Tuma is an attorney and cybersecurity expert joining us here to talk more about it. Shawn, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Steve.
So, I mean, this is as bad as it gets. This is half of America. This almost half of America has been exposed in this hack. How does this happen?
Yeah, it's interesting what it says, and I've spent some time reading this notification that they sent out to try to dissect it because I write a lot of these myself in representing clients and helping them through this. It just sounds like they got in through some kind of problem with the website, that the hackers found something with their website that had a vulnerability in it, and they were able to find a way to exploit it and get in. And now Equifax is in a very, very embarrassing position, not just because they had a breach, but because of the nature of the business they're in. But
yeah, the nature of the business is they score you and I and everybody else. And now I wonder if why would anybody place any value in what they have to offer? In fact, if I were a consumer and Equifax gave me a poor score, I might fight back and say, how do you know?
Yeah, and apparently dispute documents were included. But, another point, Steve, whenever Equifax is the provider of one of the credit monitoring products that are often used whenever a company has a breach and gives their customers free credit monitoring. Equifax is one of the main products out there that is used for that. But there is one really important point I want to make, Steve. As I read through this, I ask, if I were writing this, why would I have written it this way? They identify 143 million Americans as being potentially affected. But then when you look at the specifics, it says 209,000 U.S. credit cards, 182,000 U.S. consumer dispute documents. What this kind of sounds like to me is they know for sure that this information was taken specifically. They have evidence of that, and they know the hackers were in the environment where they could have accessed the other information, but they don't really know whether they did or didn't, and they couldn't disprove the rest of that amount. That's why they had to say potentially 143 million.
Or exposed, as it were.
Yeah.
All right, so you're saying you don't believe that 143 million people were suddenly downloaded onto the system of some hack. But here's my question. All right, so let's say you're one of this 180,000 or 209,000 or whatever it is that they're sure they got your stuff. How do you protect yourself against that? Honestly. How do you honestly protect yourself against these people?
Steve, your mind's going to explode when I tell you this. But you enroll in the product. You get the identity theft protection credit monitoring, which is really the best situation you can get yourself in, and you stay vigilant in watching your own credit reports, watching your own accounts, and just making sure if you see anything suspicious, you flag it, you put a credit freeze on it, because even though these guys are the watchers, it's still the best we really have in today's credit-driven society.
Shouldn't these folks at Equifax be offering credit monitoring flat out free?
Yeah, they're offering it to the entire all citizens of the U.S. for free for 1 year. And they have a site that's set up to show whether you were impacted, where you can go to their site. And this is another important point I want to make, is scammers may try to use this event to set up fake websites to say, put your information in here to see if you were impacted, to steal your information. So make sure you only use the official Equifax website, which is EquifaxSecurity2017.com.
Equifax Security. Say that again.
2007. EquifaxSecurity2017.com.
All right, so here's the question, though. At what point do we realize that our systems they just don't work? How often, how many times do we have to do a story like this, Shawn, where we talk about this many people were hacked, this many people were hacked, this many people? It's mind-boggling.
It is, Steve. I sent out 3 notifications like this over the last 2 weeks on behalf of clients, much smaller. in many cases than even the numbers we're looking at here, the 217, 182,000. But still, it's incredibly common. And right now, we're not in a position. It's a war. It's an ongoing war of the bad guys trying to get in and steal information from the
Well, all right,
the
who should be most concerned about this? Are there people that should be more concerned than others?
People that rely mostly on credit, need to be really vigilant in watching their credit, because if they have a problem and they don't have liquid assets, they're going to be in a bad position. And companies. I mean, if you own a company, you're a management in a company. Look, they're after you. They're after everybody. And when you're a company like Equifax that has this much data on people, you're going to have a hit on you for the cyber criminals. They're going to be out to get you, and so you have to know they're constantly going to be attacking you with the most sophisticated weapons they have.
Yeah, just another disappointment. But you say that they'll do it for free for the next year for anybody in America. So I think that I'll take them up on that for sure.
Yeah, I will too.
EquifaxSecurity2017.com. I'll take that for sure. As long as it doesn't say in the fine print, if you don't cancel it, we'll start charging you every month, because that would irritate me too. I hate that part of the deal, where these companies come along and say, hey, sign up for free, and if you forget to cancel us in a month, we'll just start charging you ridiculous amounts of money,
I've used the Equifax product for my clients before, and do, because it's a good product, and I don't believe it does that.
Fair enough. Well, Shawn, I guess be vigilant, pay attention to what you're doing out there, and hopefully no bad people will take your information. Shawn, thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Steve. Thank you.
All right. Shawn Tuma, attorney, cybersecurity expert.
So another huge cybersecurity, breach happened. Something happened today. Equifax says cyber attack may have affected $143 million in the United States. One of the three major consumer credit reporting agencies said on Thursday that hackers had gained access to company data and potentially compromised sensitive information, including social security numbers, driver's license, and also even credit card numbers. So we thought, why not get the expert with us today, Shawn Tuma, cybersecurity expert, joining us on 710 KURV. Shawn, I just feel like there is nothing we can do as your average Joes to protect us from cyber attacks.
Roxanne, as I'm sitting here at my desk typing out a draft letter for a client to send out just like this, having mailed out some earlier this week, I will tell you it's tough. Companies like Equifax, I'm not going to be the guy saying they had poor security, because I know better. I know they have really good security, but I know they have a lot of people attacking them trying to get in. And, in the world of security, you have to be right 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. And a bad guy only needs one lucky shot. And so our information is vulnerable, and it's out there. And if you're in a company and you have some say-so, you need to be making this a top priority to protect the data of the people you trust and rely on and who trust you to protect it.
It's just sad, Shawn, because I feel this is happening just more often. And even recently here at our company, we got an email saying, do not open an email from Dropbox. Do you remember that email, you guys?
Yes,
we got an email recently letting all of us know, do not open this email from Dropbox. It's a virus or it's a scam or something, and it's just like we never think that it'll happen to us. But the more this happens, the more I'm thinking, you know what? We might become victims of this.
You know what, Roxanne? I got that same notice, because in our firm, we do what we call phishing training to teach us not to click on links and emails. Today, I was sitting at my desk and got an email from Equifax.
You clicked on
click here. No, I didn't. But I looked at it. I hovered over the link, and it was a phishing email that our IT director sent out to try to catch us.
Well, how do you know?
We would click on it.
Oh,
Shawn, for those that don't know what phishing is, how do you know it's a phishing email? What do you look out for?
Really, the only way is you have to hover over those little hyperlinks in your email with your cursor and look at the address where they're actually going to, not what they say, but where the address is that pops up, and it'll show you the actual URL that it's directing you to.
Yeah.
And if it's not the legitimate domain of the company you think it should be, don't click on it. Go to the website, do a search, pull their website up the old-fashioned way, and get to it that way.
There was a. Oh, did you have a question?
No,
Davis. Okay. There was a. It's hard to tell these things sometimes. There was a website that I really trust that was telling me that I need to reset my password because there was another security breach where a bunch of username and passwords were leaked, and that I need to go and change it. And I'm thinking this looks like a phishing scam in the first place. You know, I don't know where the link goes. So I had to go and Google the email address that was sending me the initial email and the website that they were trying to send me to make sure that it was legit.
was it?
Well, yeah, but that's the point. When when it looks like and smells like a scam, sometimes it's actually legitimate. It's very hard to tell these things in the first place.
That's right. But it was smart what you did, because a lot of times you'll do that, and I've done that before, and you'll see that it is a known scam, and people have posted about it, and you'll see that it's out there already.
So I don't remember where I heard this today, but I heard it from somebody that there is no way really to protect our, in this case it would be financial information, in some ways our lives embodied in a little file that Equifax or the other credit rating agencies have. So what do we do?
Well, you're right, because think about it. We don't reach out to Equifax and ask them to build a database on us.
No.
They do it automatically. Many of us don't want it on us, And so we don't have a choice in that. So what do we do? Really, because we can't guard against it on the front end, we have to be vigilant on the back end. And that requires monitoring our credit. And Equifax is giving away a free year of their credit monitoring service. Many people may not want to use that, and I can understand why. There are other really good companies out there that I know and work with that do a good job of that. So there are options. And the other thing is, watch your own credit reports. Watch your bank accounts. Set up Google alerts for your name to see if people are using your name elsewhere. If you made it in the news, there's a guy in Florida with my name that gets a lot of DUIs. See what.
I thought you put the cork in the bottle, Shawn. I thought.
No, he's in Florida.
Oh, okay.
It's not me.
All right.
Talking about how Equifax was attacked and may have affected 143 million people in the U.S. Joining us right now is Shawn Tuma, cybersecurity expert, trying to give us the details as to what happened and how just to be safe in this world of internet.
Shawn, they were talking. This actually came up. I got tired of watching the hurricane coverage at home, so I tuned into CNBC. And they were talking, this story came up, and they were talking about stock movement. Are you familiar with any of this?
Oh, yeah.
Is this something we should talk about, or should we just let
look, if you ever want to, a data breach is a bad situation. If you ever want to make it a whole lot worse, have a couple of your executives go dump a lot of their stock after they learn about it, but before they tell the public about
it. You don't think it was just bad timing? Because the story, Roxanne's looking at me, some of the execs did some stock trading.
Execs for what company?
For Equifax.
Okay.
But they knew about it, late July, didn't say anything about it for a while, but in the meantime, some of the execs did some stock trading. It was options or something. And go ahead.
Yeah, and so I'm certain they will say they didn't know about it or didn't do it intentionally or what have you. But look, when you're in the world of data breaches and you have done something that's, even if you're the victim of a criminal attack, which they are here, when it's hurt other people's information and it looks like, you're in it for yourself, it's all about perception here. That's what this whole issue is about, is how does the public perceive you? How do your customers perceive you? And will they come back to you? And if you do things like that, even if it's unintentional, you have to realize that the perception is going to be bad and people are going to use that against you.
Shawn, you mentioned checking your credit score to see if you're okay, if you're not a victim of any, cyber attacks. I have Credit Karma. I don't really work through Equifax, but I know that Credit Karma gives me my TransUnion's credit score and my Equifax credit score. If I give my information to Credit Karma, does Equifax, do they get that information from Credit Karma? Am I making sense? Like, would I be a victim because I use Credit Karma?
Roxanne, you would be a victim even if you didn't use Credit Karma, or you could be a victim, because the way credit bureaus work is they assemble information on us based upon what merchants provide to them about our payment history and our loans and things like that. It's not our actions or our choices that get us in their database of information. And so even if you didn't use Credit Karma, they build a profile about you based upon information they get from other parties, not from you primarily. That's the data that got attacked here in many of these cases. And so, you would still be a victim of this, or you could be, and you need to, be vigilant about it.
Is it, to the extent possible, is it better for people to not use a lot of credit? I realize that, I guess you have to be pretty wealthy not to have to use a lot of credit, or does it make any difference? You buy a vehicle, or you buy a house, and you're done already. What do you think?
I don't know the answer to that. If you're going to go live off the grid and be a prepper or what have you, then you're probably one of the few people that are going to be safe from this. But you better not ever need credit to buy anything. Otherwise, I hate to say this, and I hate to sound like we're defeated, but this has just become a fact of modern life that our information is out there and bad people are getting it, and we really just do all we can to protect it.
Yeah. Well, it is said that we should change passwords regularly on all of our accounts, just to do that little bit to defeat the people who want to do us harm. Should we? What can you do when it comes to your mortgage, car payments, credit card payments? Nothing, right?
Well, you can't change. There's a lot of people wishes they could change their credit, but you can't. You can't change your Social Security number for the most part. You can't change healthcare records. That's why hackers love healthcare data, and so it's really. I do recommend using some service to alert you to credit fraud, to alert you to identity theft fraud. And to help remediate that in the event you do have it. There are companies that I use for my clients when we send out these notification letters, and one of them has been Equifax that we've used. But there are others as well that have insurance and that have people that are professionals at helping fix identity theft. And they cover that.
Do you have any I think there are services sold nationally, advertised heavily on radio. I don't know about television, where they'll monitor your credit. Of course, there's that television commercial. I'm a bank monitor, not a bank guard. That kind of thing. What do you think about these monitoring companies?
I think they're helpful. I think they're better than nothing, because we're at war, and we need all the advantages we can get. And they probably don't always do what everything they advertise, but if they do half of it, they're better off than nothing.
Shawn, real quickly, what should we look for if we want to be, or if we're victims of Equifax? I don't think we asked that. An email from them, or what do we look out for?
They've set up a dedicated website. It's called www.equifax security, SECURITY, 2017.com. And you can go there, and they have a portal that will allow you to look and see.
Shawn Tuma, thank you so much for joining us today. That is Shawn Tuma, cybersecurity expert. And again, it was Equifax Security 2017.com to see if you're one of those 143 million that might be affected by this cyber attack. More of the drive home next.